Question number 3. Contrast Abraham's sacrifice of Isaac with Jephthah's sacrifice of his daughter. And are there any lessons for us? Most of us familiar with Abraham's sacrifice, of course, in Genesis chapter 22, where God told Abraham to take his son, his only son, and to take him up and to sacrifice him on Mount Moriah. And of course, Abraham didn't flinch, he didn't push back, didn't argue, didn't ask why. He just did what God told him to do, and he was about to plunge the knife into his son when God stayed his hand. Jephthah's sacrifice, maybe not as well known. Jephthah, one of the judges, the story of that sacrifice in Judges chapter 11, when Jephthah was about to go up against an army, he told God that if God would give him success and give him victory, that he would offer up the first thing that came out of his house when he got home. Well, of course, the first thing to come, he was thinking in terms of an animal, the first thing to come was his only child, a daughter. And that's his story. It's a very sad story, the story of Jephthah. Again, the question is, contrast these two. Well, let's compare them first, because there's some similarities. Both of these guys, Abraham and Jephthah, were both willing to sacrifice their own child, only child. Both of them, because of that, stand out as a tremendous example of faith. Abraham, obedience because God told him to do this. Jephthah, we don't think of him in terms of faith so much, but he's actually mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11 as one of those great heroes of faith. His faith undoubtedly was demonstrated by his willingness to make good on his promise, his oath. And he would make good on his promise even at the cost of his own child. And so while that was unusual and unthinkable, maybe to us, the Bible actually calls him a man of faith. Both of them did so at great personal loss, or at least potential loss in Abraham's case. The case of Jephthah, there are two interpretations actually of what happened with his daughter. There are some that believe that he did not actually offer her up as a sacrifice in terms of killing her, but he actually devoted her to God's service. Think of little Samuel, when his mama devoted him to the service of the Lord, that Jephthah devoted his daughter to the service of the Lord. Well, that's not quite as bad, but to a Jewish mind, that would have been almost as bad, because what that meant is that Jephthah's lineage was over. It meant that his daughter would never have children. And so, as good as dead. And so, that's a possible interpretation. Either way, Jephthah's situation was pretty awful, but his faith was demonstrated in the fact that he made good on his promise. Well, let's look at the contrast, because there are points of comparison there, but let's look at the contrast. Again, God commanded Abraham to do what he did. Jephthah made an unwise vow. Some people call it a rash vow. Abraham was stopped by God. Jephthah followed through at tremendous cost to himself. And so while the stories of Abraham and Jephthah both provide examples of faith, Abraham certainly an example of strong faith. Jephthah, we might say his is a cautionary tale. And the caution is, be careful what you promise, because God expects you to make good on your promise. That's why Jesus says, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. God expects you to do what you say you're going to do. And so be careful what you promise. And maybe if there's a lesson in all of this, the takeaway is, number one, faith is good, but faith with wisdom, better.